Yeah, COP11 in fact has been addressing so many issues, but there is one issue which is least addressed is the agricultural biodiversity in the convention. So agricultural biodiversity in fact has received attention and the recognition very recently because the most of the people have been working on the forests, marine biodiversity, biodiversity in other ecosystems, but agro ecosystems were left by the most of the scholars and the scientists and the governments. You will be surprised to know that there is about 40% of the diversity existing in the agricultural fields, where the farmers have developed. Farmers have in fact developed all these different, genetic stocks, particularly in the form of the crops and also in the form of the animal breeds. So our work is mainly focusing on the agricultural biodiversity, which is existing on farm in the mountains of the Himalayas. Particularly, there is one province in India which is Himachal Pradesh, lying in western Himalayan part of the whole range of the Himalayas. So we have been working since 2006. First of all, we try to document what diversity is existing on farm, what different varieties and cultivars, land races the farmers have been growing, and what genetic pool has already lost. Because, because of the modern agriculture, which came in long ago in the form of green revolution in India, but in the remote areas like the Himachal Pradesh or the mountains of the Himalayas, so this agriculture, also has penetrated, but not. Uh, I mean, it penetrated very late. So there is a lot of genetic diversity is still existing, whereas in other provinces of India, it has already lost, it has already eroded. So, first of all, we tried to document. So, we did the documentation of about 15 different crops, having 42 different varieties and cultivars. So, there is a big pool of the genetic resource which is existing on farm and the farmers have been growing. So, these crops are known as locally local cultivars or local varieties, or you can say the traditional varieties. So these traditional varieties are in fact superior in number, a number of characteristics, number of traits. Superior in the sense, in terms of their nutritional value, their medicinal values, their resilience to cope with the harsh environments of the mountains, especially in high altitudes, where the modern varieties or high yielding varieties cannot survive. And there is resistance, immense resistance they have to the pests, to the stress, especially the water stress, or even they can survive in the high rainfalls because the high mountains, high altitudes of the mountains are receiving the high rainfalls. So this documentation we did, and thereafter we had promoted the conservation, in situ conservation particularly.
What are the other specific activities apart from documentation? What are the next subsequent stages?
Okay, the other I have switched over already. That we after this documenting, we then moved into the conserving on farm, because the farmers have been leaving growing all these varieties due to the economic factors, due to the lot of promotion is done by the agriculture universities and agriculture department of the modern varieties, modern crops. So due to this economic reasons, they have stopped growing all those things. So in many areas they have already done. So that's why there is a need. There was a need. So we identified the need and then we promoted in, like on pilot basis, in 22 villages of these mountains, and now we want to upscale all that conservation. But that is not ex situ conservation like other people are doing, creating the gene banks or seed banks. So we are trying to do in situ. so the farmer should continue growing all those varieties. This is one. And now future agenda is like doing extensive research and extensive conservation of these within the larger units.
Tell us about one biggest challenge that you have to face when you're working
Okay.
on documentation and then, of course, the implementation.
Of course, I mean the challenges first was of these difficult environments. This is very high reaches of the mountains, where the villagers, though there are the villages located there, and they have been doing agriculture, but for us it was really difficult to access those villages to do documentation and as well as the promotion, conserving them. So other challenge which we had was very important was that the universities and the scientists, agriculture scientists, were not understanding the subject. They were they were of the opinion that there is no traditional crops or no diversity existing on farm. Because most of the universities in India, there are about 42 government institutions promoting only 35 crops. Okay, only 5 crops, sorry. 5 crops, they are researching on 35 crops merely, and which are the modern crops, which are linked with the exports, etc. So these universities, scientists were not able to understand. Of late, when the CBD has recognized the agricultural biodiversity as one of the component of biodiversity, now there is a growing consciousness about and awareness about the agricultural biodiversity, which is losing, which we are losing on farm.